Hi, welcome to my channel where we question everything. Today's topic is bits and pieces, and I'm going to discuss a couple of short stories that might be of interest to you. So the first one I would actually, when I actually think about this, I gotta laugh. So Joe Biden has decided no. The influence of Russia and China in Africa is now becoming a little bit too much, and now he has to woe the African leaders in order to support America. And as you also know, is that the Africans leaders, countries haven't supported America in the sanctions against Ukraine. And basically, Joe Biden had a Washington summit of nearly 50 African nations. And what did he do? He typically pledged an increase in investment and aid to these countries. Well, I'm not sure if this investment is ever going to realize, or all these promises of aid is being committed by America. Since America has to put up so much money for Ukraine, I think there's nothing left really to supply Africa with these things. But in any case, I wouldn't believe Joe in any case for any aid. You know, if an African leader, I've been watching what they were doing, what America was doing with Ukraine and Russia and Iran, and they have noticed what was happening, and they don't believe or trust the Americans anymore. And this has become a big issue, actually. And if you can see, a lot of more African leaders are turning to Russia and to China for aid. And then you see that even the other pro-American countries like Saudi Arabia is also hedging their bets and so on. And well, I'm not sure if these guys are going to fall for that, but Joe Biden tries his luck. But I can assure you the African leader is not going to do it. The American influence over the world has basically been destroyed, and if not destroyed, seriously, trust has been seriously damaged by the confiscation of assets of Venezuela, Russia, Iran, Syria, Libya, the sanctioning, if you don't do, and the bullying that is done by the West, the unfair trade agreements were done with Africa, the exploitation and the colonization of Africa by the Western countries. And I think it's basically the chicken came home to roost. So although Joe would like to reestablish that thing, I don't believe it's going to happen. And then another interesting article, well, I thought so, and that Iran was booted from a UN a group, and they were was dedicated to women's rights following a vote spearheaded by the United States. Now, if you haven't known it, I did make a video, but several other people also made a video about the riots in Iran, and the woman that was pulled in by the what police, the chastity police or whatever they call it, because she wasn't wearing a hijab correctly, and she needed training, and then for some other reason she died in custody. But if you looked at the videos, the security camera videos, nobody tortured her. She was actually sitting and waiting, and then standing up and talking to somebody else, and then she collapsed on her own and probably died of a heart attack. And if you also look, she was rushed to hospital, and unfortunately died there as well. Unfortunately died there. But also there were some photographs of her, and you couldn't see any abuse or torture or anything on her face or other limbs. So she probably died from natural causes or some other heart defect or aneurysm that is very hard to detect beforehand. And this stimulated a lot of riots in Iran. And it was, you can see clearly it was instigated by outside forces, because at the end of the day, police officers were killed. Now, if police officers are killed, then riots are not peaceful anymore, and neither are they legitimate. But they did carry on for a couple of weeks and presented a lot of problems for Iran. Now, so the Iran sits on these commissions. Yes, it sounds very funny, which is dedicated to women's rights. And then America makes a motion that they should be kicked out of this group, the UN group. Well, why would you do that? What benefit would you have? You're accusing this country of abusing women, and then you're booting them out of one of the institutions that actually works to prevent the abuse of women. Shouldn't it be better in any case to let them remind them and then put a lot of pressure on them to reform their attitudes towards women's rights? That would be the logical conclusion. But since Iran is not a Western country, and the US has a long history of animosity towards it, one can expect it. And, well, and for me, it's very stupid. But what Iran also said is that, there's no legal basis for them being chucked out of the group. There's no rules or methods by which any country can be expelled from this UN group. So they are actually making up their own laws and their own procedures as they go along, and totally illegal. But who expects any illegal behavior from the West at this stage, since they have acted so illegally when they implemented sanctions, confiscated assets of foreigners, prohibited free speech, suppress the media, control the narratives, and, well, whatever can you say. So I'm not sure why they want to do it. But in any case, Iran was kicked out of the United Nations Council, and that's it. So another stupid idea from the Americans. Well, another story that's of interest is recent development in New Zealand. Apparently, New Zealand Parliament has passed a law that any person born after January the 1st, 2009, that means any child that is now 14 years or younger, may never in their life ever buy cigarettes. Now, I thought New Zealand was a liberal country, but it seems to me they are just as draconian and authoritative as the rest of the Western world. And if you looked at Mary Poppins' reactions during the COVID era, I mean, they shut down New Zealand for 1 or 2 cases of COVID, and then the whole country had to be shut down and locked down and isolated and I don't know what. And I thought to myself, wow, that's a little bit severe. In any case, one of my employees actually recently immigrated to New Zealand. And I thought to myself, okay, so you're going to New Zealand and you think you're going to have a better life, but I'm not so totally sure now. Seems to me she's gonna sacrifice a lot of freedom for what? I'm not totally sure, because yes, South Africa is bad at this stage, but so is the Western world going to be in the next couple of years. In any case, if you are in New Zealand and if you sell them to a child that is yet or is currently 14 or younger, That means in another 4 or 5 years, you sell cigarettes to that person, then you can be fined up to 150,000 New Zealand dollars, which is about 140 American thousand dollars. So you can see it's not a small fine. It's fairly significant. In any case, but just for the sakes, this doesn't apply to vaping. And there were recent studies of vaping equipment that do cause a lot of cancer into mouth and etc., and other illnesses. And there was actually a documentary I saw about a study done in Europe about the nicotine content and how young people are succumbing to illnesses associated with nicotine. But the law doesn't say anything about nicotine per se in terms of vaping. So I'm not totally sure how this is supposed to be working and being of benefit. And another part of this law is that basically the amount of places you can buy cigarettes is also going to be reduced. Currently there's about 6,000 shops or stores that do sell cigarettes in New Zealand. Well, they're going to reduce to about 600. So by a factor of 10 is going to be reduced. So if you want to smoke out in New Zealand and you're going to want to smoke, then you're going to battle to find some cigarettes. So if you're a tourist, you better take some with you. In any case, the law will come to effect early into next year, 2023. And the argument for this law is that thousands of people will live longer and healthier lives, and well, as if there is no other causes for cancer and stuff like that. I mean, we are polluting our water, we are polluting our air with chemicals, and we are polluting our food with chemicals, and we are applying Roundup as a weed killer and thereby reducing the nutritional value of our food, and we're pumping our animals full of growth hormones and other stuff, and well, as if smoking was the only bad thing in the world. And then nobody ever considers alcoholism, which is just as bad. Smoking doesn't break up families and other things or commit crimes, but alcohol, that's one of the things that where crimes are committed on and where families are broken up and bad things are done. But you never hear that anybody is limiting the usage of alcohol. But naturally, typically, they say it's going to save billions of dollars on treating illnesses caused by smoking, including some types of cancer and heart attacks. Yeah, they so. But if one ever remembers what happened in the 1920s in America, there was a couple of women decided no, alcohol is bad. They convinced some politicians to ban alcohol, and what then happened? Then the Italian mafia was created due to bootlegging and illegal smuggling of booze, alcohol. And that created the crime wave. And everything that goes together with the establishment of the Italian mafia in America. We all remember the Godfather movie and so on, if you're old enough. But in any case, what do people think? What is the current smuggling items, huge smuggling items in the world, except of drugs? Well, that's cigarettes. Why are cigarettes smuggled? Because of the high taxes. And if you smuggle cigarettes, then you avoid the taxes, then these criminal elements make huge profits. Now, what will happen if you ban cigarettes totally? Well, you strengthen the criminal elements. It becomes very, very, very profitable for criminals to smuggle cigarettes. And that's New Zealand will unfortunately have to experience that. Because you cannot prevent things like that. If there's a market, then there will be a supply created for that market, whether it is legal or illegal. But in any case, we will see what's happening. I cannot think of anything good about it. I don't know why people constantly target the smokers by preventing and implementing the law. Another human right is basically removed. You have no free choice then anymore. And if you don't have those items, then are you still living in a democracy? I'm sure no. Everybody should know, should agree with me. No. Any case, I thought that would be a little bit interesting. So if you like what you heard, subscribe, tell your friend, spread the word. And until next time, cheers.